Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wine Pickup.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our podcast about guitars. And Tony, what else?
Pedals?
And Jared, what else?
101s and stuff.
And Tony, what else?
Builders?
Right, and amps and all that good stuff. We got lots and lots of stuff. And you know what? Hey, everybody, during this next year, this beautiful year that we have ahead of us, we're going to try to expand, I think, a little bit. Just, we're staying in our lane, but we're just going to kind of check the side mirrors a little bit and see what else is there. So, I don't know. I'm just saying we're opening our ears. I'm getting a lot of requests in and stuff of like, hey, there's artists and all kinds of different kinds of gear that maybe we wouldn't have considered. So we're just checking it out. And it's important that we do because we want to keep our listeners involved and we want to keep our supporters supporting us, especially our Grand Poohbahs.
I love those guys.
Do you know why I say that, Tony?
Do we have a Poohbah on the line?
We have a Grand Poohbah on the line. Yes, they do exist. Who are you, Grand Poohbah?
I am Tim Nowak, owner of Bardic Audio Devices.
All right. And he happens to be a powder builder, so that's a bonus.
A powder builder?
I messed that up. Sorry.
What's a powder builder?
A powder builder.
Does he solder?
He does. He solders the pedal builders.
The
Paldor builders. Anyways, yeah. So Tim runs Bardic Audio Devices, cleverly acronymed as BAD. But more importantly, at least to us, well, maybe marginally more important. Well, no, definitely more importantly, he's one of our Grand Poohbahs, and that is as anybody who has heard the show before. That is the highest level that we have of support. And
some might call it the pinnacle.
It is the pinnacle. It is the penthouse suite. And we're just really thrilled that they're doing that. So for the listeners who are old, for the listeners who are new, if you're new, welcome. We're really thrilled that you are giving this a shot. And we hope that you're going to like it. And we'd love to hear from you if you are and you do like it. We're having our first Grand Poohbah on with us. Now, even if Tim didn't build pedals, his enthusiasm and support of not only our show, but the entire industry and guitar enthusiast universe is evident in his support for this show. This is never, we didn't say, oh, by the way, if you support our show, we're going to pull you on and give you have you on as for an episode. We've never done that. This is a decision that we made not too long ago, really after just going, wow, we have this incredible support base. And not only do we have an incredible support base, they are active in all kinds of other areas of it. They're the ones they're constantly commenting on stuff. They're sending us messages. They're commenting on other people's stuff. They're very deeply involved. And I think that says a lot about their importance in our little guitar universe, and certainly to us. So we wanted to give our Grand Poohbahs a shot, and so we're gonna be doing that periodically through the next several months, and it should be exciting because these are people who are super enthusiastic about gear and they care. Care enough to support this show, care enough to do all those other things I was just mentioning. So welcome, Tim Nowak, Grand Poohbah, Guitar Knob Grand Poohbah, and also, you build some pedals or whatever. Just kidding.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll get into all of that. So it's going to be kind of a double interview. We want to interview you as a guitar enthusiast and also to learn more about your pedals, of course. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to motor on with a couple of announcements real quick. We need to give a big thank you to Rogue. That was like an old 40s ad or something like that. It's kind of nice. We need to give big thanks to Rode mics out in Australia. Yes. Yeah.
And around the globe.
Thank you so much to Rode Microphones for supporting our show, for providing this awesome equipment, the Rodecaster Pro and the Procaster mics.
Love them.
Yes. They not only make great stuff for podcasting, they make fantastic audio equipment for all kinds of recording needs. And, even live. Stuff. I think this is even more evident now that most of us are, somewhat on lockdown at home. We're not out there playing. It's like we still want to express ourselves and capture our thoughts and our music, whether that's, at home, you're doing your own YouTube or broadcast or whatever you're doing. Check out Rode Mics because they got good stuff to help you do that. I just also wanted to share this. We get a lot of mail in, and we got some in that I wanted to share. I thought it was kind of cool. I always appreciate when people do that. And every time we get a new patron, I ask them questions and I say, I want to know more about you. So without further ado, this is from John Williams, and he joined around early August. He said, hey, very glad to help out. So are we. Thank you very much. Your show's been a real inspiration. I guess I found you guys back in April and May of this year. I enjoy it so much. The most meaningful bits to me have been the words of encouragement from you guys and your guests. Just go make stuff. Give it a shot, that kind of thing. I've gotten to, quote, know, unquote, the crew. I've enjoyed hearing each of you talk about guitar gear you enjoy, and what's up in your world and your take on topics, etc. I'd love to buy you all a beer sometime. Well, cheers to you, my friend. Thank you so much for sending that sentiment in.
Beers are accepted.
Yes. He also shared some of his gear, as I always ask our patrons to do. So he was heavy on the guitars. He said, I'm pretty guitar heavy. He said a 98 Parker Fly Classic Maple. I think that might be the first time anybody has said Parker Fly on this show.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we said it a while back.
We may have. It was more of a...
Yeah, they were very modern for the time they came out, and they're very lightweight.
Yeah. Well, everything is proprietary, too. All of the parts. So they're very, very difficult to fix and restore and find parts and stuff. Tony, you might have something to add with the Parker Fly.
Parker Fly.
There you go.
I've done some Parker Fly pick guards, actually, some replacement guards.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But they are an unusual instrument, and they're ergonomically designed. I know a few people that play them and love them. They're not my particular cup of tea, but if he likes it, that's his thing.
Yeah, those I think those came out in like the early 90s. Like I think
you're right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds right.
And I think the very first series may have been composite bodies, and then they branched out and did some wood bodies, and I'm not sure if they're still making them or not, or if there's just strictly import versions of them now. But yeah, for the time, they were a super advanced guitar.
Yeah, well, and it's also, I think one of the reasons that they were so notable and still remain so is that it's made, I believe, almost entirely of composite materials. So, it's got a carbon fiber. The neck has got carbon fiber. The body has got the fretboard is carbon fiber, and the body has carbon fiber outer skin, I believe. So yeah, just really, it was weird, and it was unique and strange, and people like the unique and strange. So what else do we have here that is in his stock? He says he's got a 97 PRS Standard 22 and a 96 Taylor 514C. He says he's got a little parts caster he put together some years back, the guitar he learned on, an old Yamaha AES 500, and a few others. He likes pedals, but is constantly shopping and like long walks on the beach. Thank Thanks for doing what you do, fellas. Thank you, John Williams, for sending that in and for supporting our show. Doggone it. And for likely supporting a lot of the builders that we've had on the show. Thank you. All right. We're going to find out what we're doing in our music worlds this week, and we're finally going to get to hear from our guest because I've been yapping. Sorry.
Yes, you have.
Tony Baloney is going to kick us off, and we're going to see what Tim has to say.
All right. Well, I was in need of a couple of Jazzmaster-sized cases. Not necessarily for Jazzmasters, but for guitars that fit inside of Jazzmaster cases.
I was hoping you were going to say like a machine gun or something.
Well, yeah. Well, there is that. Shh. Top secret. But I was getting some from like Amazon had a brand called Crossrock that were actually very good cases, reasonably priced. But they have been out of stock for probably the last month or so. Ew. And aren't expecting until the end of November. Well, I guess that's almost here now. But a while back, I remembered that I had went over to Guitar Fetish. And Guitar Fetish has all kinds of parts, some guitars. They do a Earl Slick guitar series.
Online?
Online, yeah. And one of the things that they offer are some pretty cool, very reasonably priced guitar cases. So they offer, Strat Telly style. They offer bass cases. They offer, like ES335 style acoustic cases. But the ones that really caught my eye were the Jazzmaster or Jaguar sized case. And I bought one of the tooled leather ones, or faux tooled leather, a while back, and I really liked it. It fits a lot of different guitars, but this I needed one. It actually was supposed to be here today, but it looks like it was delayed in transit. But it's a checkerboard Tolex outer case.
Ooh, cool.
And that one really caught my eye. But they've got stuff like faux alligator skin. They've got standard tweed. They've got linen. They've got standard black, of course. But they're all their normal price is like $84.95, and I think shipping is about $18 or so. So for just a hair over $100, it's a really decent case. And anybody that's ever shopped for a Jazzmaster case, if you get a Fender Jazzmaster case, you're looking at closer to $200. SKB is also in that same kind of price range. So these are, I think they're really well made cases. They actually have leather ends, or the fake leather ends, like a G&G case, and extremely reasonably priced. So if you're ever in need for that, I would check out Guitar Fetish.
Will Dudzik.
How much did they pay you to say all that?
They didn't, and I'm going to have to get in touch. Maybe I can get a free case out of it.
I'm actually looking at Guitar Fetish right now. I'm looking at these Earl Slick guitars.
Yeah, the Earl Slick stuff is really cool, and those are
super affordable. Dude, these are $229.
Yeah.
What about the leather tooled type Jazzmaster size cases we bought a while back?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, I have one. I think did you get a couple of them?
I got a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would put them up against any standard Fender or G&G case. I mean, they're really well made, and they look cool, and they've got some really cool options.
At first, when I saw these, I was like, "What? That looks some crazy." But these are bolt-on. I mean, these are basic guitars. But it's a great way to get into a cool-looking guitar that seems to have some pretty sweet parts on it. So,
yeah.
Anyways, check that out over at guitarfetish.com. Yeah, baby. Cool, Tim. What's going on, buddy?
Well, this past week has been the second round of exams for me, and just as I was about to prepare for those, a giant PCB order came in for me. So I couldn't keep myself away from working on those. I started on working on the new version of the Thunderclap, my bass preamp pedal, and the new Beast boards, which will be an upcoming pedal. And then just today, it seems like this week has been a big release week for a lot of pedal makers. And
Yeah.
I picked up the parts garden from Mask Audio Electronics. Real excited about that one.
We've had him on the show. Everybody can go back and find that episode.
Yay!
Oh yeah, because of the show, I followed him, and we've touched base a few times, and he's really helped me grow as a builder as well.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
He's a good dude. Cool. So you had a lot of stuff going on over there. Now, aside from building stuff, did you have anything musically happening?
Musically, playing through the pedals and building. That's about it.
Well, it's funny because almost everybody that we get on, they're like, "I'm busy building stuff. I'm not sitting around playing," which is a weird thing. It's kind of like if you work at a pizza shop, you don't really get to sit around and eat pizza. I guess. I don't know.
Well, I worked at Little Caesars over last semester at Western, and I ate a lot of pizza there.
Yeah. I worked at Little Caesars as well when I was in high school. I was allowed to go there after school and eat.
Yeah,
all I wanted. It was heaven.
Did they have a guard?
Dude, no. It was the manager was just really cool. She's like, "You can come in anytime you want and eet out in the buffet. Eat all you want." I was like, "Yes!"
I don't think she understood what she signed up for.
Yeah, so it's good. Little did she know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that, Tim. Jared, how about yourself, buddy?
It has to do with guitar cases, just like good old Tony Baloney.
Whoa.
So my good buddy in Fremont, Ohio, he owns and runs a guitar shop. He had an old Guild, and I bought that Guild, and I believe I talked about it one time or another on here. But I actually traded that guitar away for some work to be done, and I have the case still because the case. Now that is it's a very cool old vintage case. It is made by Stone, and Stone is, and I believe it's a late 50s, and it's kind of got a brown. It's just a brown. Whatever you call it. What's the case material called?
Tolex,
yeah. And the case is so old, it just feels hard and crispy. There's like there's no buoyancy or, stretch or anything, or you can't really move it around. It's just really old. But I cleaned it up today, and it was made with only 2 hinges. And the 2 hinges are very small hinges, and they were broken, so the top doesn't stay on. So I went on eBay not too long ago, and I found the hinges. I'm like, I found the exact hinges. I am awesome. And I got them in the mail, and they're like twice as big.
Oh boy.
But they look the same. Like they're the exact same shape, exact same design, but they're twice as big. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. I'll just take the small ones off, which I actually did today, and I'll just replace them with these big giant hinges and add an extra hinge in the center to strengthen this old beast. And it's a very clean case. There's not much damage at all to it. And it's got a beautiful blue velvet inside. Yeah. The flap still works. It's still on there. It's not missing. So I went ahead and cleaned it, and I'm going to vacuum it out. And then, I don't know, Tony Baloney, you got any old Guilds that may fit in that case?
I'll have to check. I think yours is a thick body, or the guitar was a thick body.
Certainly is.
Yeah, but it's, I'll have to check and see, but I mean, that would be a pretty good sell, either on eBay or Reverb. Yeah. You might check it out.
Honestly, if you have a guitar that fits it, I would just give it to you.
Well, I'll check and see if I have something that I need to fit in there. But I was going to ask you, so you haven't put the new hinges on yet, have you?
No.
Do you have the rivet tool that you need for that basically splits the rivet? Do you know how to, well, let me start by saying, do you know how to put the hinges on?
So to me, it comes with the 3 brass rivets.
Okay.
And they're split in the center.
Correct.
So I would assume that you split it. You know what I'm saying?
There's an actual tool that kind of bends them around. So basically you loosen the lining from the inside of the case where the rivets go. And this tool, I mean, you could do it with a pair of pliers, but it's if you have the right tool, it actually works better. Yeah. So I think I've got one of those down at the shop because I had to do some repairs at some point in time on a case.
Yeah, I mean, sometime I'll just bring it over and you can show me how that works and see if you have a guitar that fits in it. I'd just rather give it to a friend than, make a couple bucks and then have to ship it a case. It's just,
blech. Costs as much to ship a case as it does a guitar.
I know. It's like, bleh. So,
well, yeah. Well,
that's what's going on. Vintage case time at Brandywine Pickups.
Nice.
So,
interesting.
It's a beautiful case. That's all I got to say. It's great.
Well, I spent a lot of time.
Hey, Todd, how about you?
Huffing solder smoke. I was busy building one of the Ion Effects kits. I was very excited. I did a post where I opened those up and been busy building the tremolo kit. And it has a lot of knobs on it. It's got 6 knobs and 2 LEDs. Wow. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm putting the finishing touches on that. And it was just great I haven't built one in a little while, and it was just great to kind of like lose time. You burn your head out during work. You got other kinds of responsibilities and home and stuff. Anybody with kids and stuff, kids are the best. But when you kind of close off the rest of the world, shut the door, and go in and sit down on your bench or wherever you're doing this type of thing, it's just it's pretty great. So. And here's the bonus. If you didn't catch that little thing I put up on the Instagram, we're giving away a refractor kit. What is the refractor kit, Tony asks?
What is that?
Well, that is the Klon Centaur KTR clone. Yes, and it's not just hey, this should sound like it. The guys put a lot of work into making sure that it is accurate to the actual circuit and is sourced out really fantastic parts for it. So we're going to be giving that away to our patrons on our 200th on the Verge the what?
200th episode.
The 200th episode. So that week, all around our 200th episode, we're going to be giving away a lot of stuff, everybody.
I know, man. It seems like every episode you're adding one more thing to the file.
It's true.
I know of 2 things that just got shipped this morning that some people are going to be excited about.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna do a little post that's running through all those things. I'll probably do it
reading into
next week. And Jared's got some stuff in there. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. So anyways, very, very excited about this. And not only because it's our 200th episode, which is kind of hard to believe, but because we've got some fantastic stuff to give away to those who have been listening and supporting our show. So that makes us feel good. So I'm looking forward to building another one here pretty soon. Don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't wait to do it. So we need to do some of this. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tony.
Do you have a pedal board?
I do. I make a lot of pedals, and I got to put them on a board.
My pedal board looks like it's wired together with spaghetti. But my good friend Jared recommended Tour Gear Designs cables.
Oh, yeah.
Tour Gear Designs. I think I might have heard of them.
And so I've got some here. I'm getting rid of the spaghetti and the sauce and the cheese.
Oh.
I'll save it for later, though. I'm going to recommend these Tour Gear Design cables for your pedal board.
Are they flat?
They're very flat. Some might call them crepe thin.
You might, and that's the only person that does.
Trademark Tony Baloney.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're probably thinking, oh yeah, this guy, he's going to get me to, I'm going to have to spend thousands of dollars to recable my pedal board. But no,
I don't have that money.
No, you don't need that kind of money because
They
these
start at 5.5.
Yeah, thank you. Not only are they super thin and super durable and super dependable, they're very affordable.
Oh, wow. That's even better. Perfect for struggling college students such as myself.
The best part about this is if you go to get tourgeardesigns.com/discounts/guitar knobs, you're going to save 10% on your entire order. That is pretty sweet. So you can get that extra pepperoni on your Little Caesars pizza.
Did you say 10%?
I said 10% at tourgeardesigns.com/discounts/the guitar knobs. We're going to hear from Tim Nowak, or else Tony's just going to keep his show going, his ad show going. We're going to hear from Tim Nowak right now. We're going to listen to his 4 on the floor. Tim, please grace us with your 4 on the floor.
Okay, my first 4 on the floor is the Electro Foods Germ Warfare.
Ooh, yeah. We've had them on the show, too.
We did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That if I wasn't listening to the podcast, I wouldn't have been able to buy it or even know about it.
Perfect. Well done. Well said. Didn't even prompt you. So tell us about the Germ Warfare. What do you love about that?
Well, as you know, but some other people may not, I play bass guitar primarily, and I really love the amount of treble actually it has because I'm a really big punk rock fan, and it just gives my bass that nice metallic clangy tone and just a touch of grit, and it just stacks really nicely with every other drive I have.
Awesome.
It's never going to leave my board.
Fantastic. And the Germ Warfare, the germ stands for germanium.
Yes, it does.
Yep. So it's
Are you sure it doesn't stand for the germs?
It could. It could. Now, Tim, do you do I'm going to make a giant sweeping generalization here. Do you prefer old school punk or I guess new school punk? Or both, whatever.
I'm primarily in the skate punk genre.
Okay.
Like NoFX.
Yep.
And also like ska punk, like Rancid and Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah. Bouncy stuff. Cool. Dig it. What's number 2?
Number 2 is the EHX Pitchfork.
Oh, well, yeah. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But you're doing bass, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really like it for the octave up functions. I'm pretty into old retro video games like Mario and Legend of Zelda and whatnot, and Pokemon. And I really like recreating their like theme songs and such with the octave up. It kind of gives like a 8-bit kind of texture with the bass.
Yeah.
Nice. Number 3.
Number 3 is, I don't actually have this one, but I've built it several times, is the Russian Big Muff.
Aha. Oh, you mean like the OG Big Muff, the OG Russian one.
OG green, tall font, whatever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Synonymous with bass players. I recently built a clone of it just the other week for a client, and I was testing it out. And I was like, man, I got to build myself one of these. I haven't played one since I first got into pedals. My first pedal was the bass Big Muff, which I think was a variation on the Russian Muff.
So what about that particular pedal? There's so many variations of a Big Muff, and people tend to line up on certain ones. Ren and Cuff does an amazing job with their sort of versions of all the different ones. What about the Russian? Now, is this the black Russian or the green Russian?
A green Russian, although they're both fairly similar sound wise.
Gotcha.
I prefer the white Russian.
Well, yes. So what about it specifically about that one? Out of all of the muffs, what is that? What does that do for you?
Well, in all the muffs, they have a soft clipping configuration, and there's a capacitor in line with the clipping diodes on each transistor. And the biggest difference I found with all the muffs is that one capacitor value. And on the Russian muff, it's particularly small compared to the other variations. And that allows the bass frequencies to pass through without getting distorted or clipped. So you get the mid-rangey, high-end grit while still having a clean bass tone. It's kind of like a built-in clean blend almost.
Nice, yeah. Oh, I love the clean blend. Big fan of the clean blend. So how about number 4?
Number 4 is the Arion bass chorus. This was my second pedal ever, my first chorus, and probably my favorite chorus on bass still. I don't know how else to describe it, but just perfect on bass.
So what makes it? I mean, is it because of the frequencies that it creates the chorus effect, or it just plays well with the bass?
I'm pretty sure it's the frequencies that are allowed to go through the modulation stage. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't looked into it that much. Mm-hmm. I just know it sounds great.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, I wanted to go back to the pitchfork because I'm always curious. I mean, as a guitar player, I love 12-string guitars. So I love the octaves up especially on the lower strings. Have you messed with like either an 8-string or, if you're Tom Peterson, a 12-string bass to get those
12-string bass?
Yes.
Who's? I mean,
he's got the each string has 2.
I know,
octaves.
but that's a pretty rare.
It's
thing.
Tom Peterson, for God's sakes.
Whatever.
The most strings I've ever gone up to is a 5-string.
Okay, so you haven't messed with any of the octave strings like an 8-string bass would have a core string plus an octave string, which kind of gives you the same sort of effect. Although I think with the pedal, you're probably getting a little more wonkiness or modulation or something like that.
Student, for Pete's sakes, how's he going to get a 12-string bass?
He can settle for an 8.
Mini Christmas kind of story is that?
Well, just bring the pitchfork to my local music go around and have a whack at it.
There you go.
There it is.
I was just curious because I know a lot of bass players experiment with other, variations on a theme there. I didn't know if you'd had a chance to mess with anything like that.
Yeah, I can't say I know how well the pitchfork emulates that, if at all, but I do like the sounds out of it. It is a bit more, I guess, digital, you could say.
Yeah.
But the octave down is probably closer to what like a Boss OC2 would be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But polyphonic.
Is that something you would endeavor building?
An OC2?
An octave pedal.
Oh, an octave pedal? Yeah, I've looked into it a few times, but it's really hard to make a clean octave either way. Octave down is doable analog-wise, but digitally is the only way to do octave up clean. And yeah, so I'd probably have to use have you heard of the FV1 chip?
No, I'm not as familiar with the individual chips. That's where my sort of that's the door I don't get to walk out of.
Well, that's the chip that a lot of boutique manufacturers do a lot of their more wacky designs out of, like the Earthquaker Devices Rainbow Machine. That's based off that, and a lot of like crazy modulation, delay, reverb kind of stuff. It's really fun if you want to get into programming. I know Pedal PCB sells a little development board for it, and that's how I got into it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So you're going to start dabbling into that a little bit, the programming part?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Cool.
I'm hoping my schooling will help me progress through that and do it a little more professionally.
Well, we'll get into that in just a second. That's a great segue. We're going to give a quick shout out to John Fintel, johnfintel.com, JONFINTEL.com. He's here at relayrecording.com, which is where I'm sitting alone again in this, this backwater studio. He was kind enough to give us like the shed to record in, but we're grateful for it because he's a good guy.
Damn nice shed. Come on,
it's a pretty okay. Anyways, it's kind of home. So, anyways, John is fantastic with capturing guitar tone, which is important because we're all guitar players of some kind, bass or other, included, of course, and 12-string, banjos or whatever Tony.
How is he with synth guitars?
I'm not entirely sure. You'd have to ask him. But hey, if you want to ask him any questions, or you are trying to search for your best guitar tone to get that recorded or get something mastered, go ahead and hit him up, johnfintel.com. Thanks for having us here, my friend.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir. We need to find out a couple things from Tim Nowak. First and foremost, he has been a fan of our show for a long time. He's been supporting our show for a long time. And that is the number one reason he is on the show right now, because of his just heavy-duty support. And as you have probably found out by now, if you tuned out during my intro stuff, which is entirely possible, he builds pedals too. And for Bardic Audio Devices, Bardic Audio. Why I got an issue with my R's and L's tonight. Bardic Audio Devices. So we're gonna find out about that in just a little bit. But Tim, we want to talk to you as a guitar enthusiast. You clearly care a lot about this type of thing. You got love for whether you want to call it a hobby, a passion, or whatever. You have it, and you're willing to support that. So we're grateful for that. Can you tell us just kind of maybe how did you get kicked off into the whole world of guitar stuff?
Well, I'd say it started about my sophomore year in high school. I was in the school band and marching band playing trombone and saxophone, and I really liked a band called Streetlight Manifesto because it was kind of like a ska punk kind of band. Mm-hmm. And I really liked playing the horn lines and emulating them, but they also had a really fantastic bass player, and that's what got me into playing bass. I got my first bass. It was a Rogue 5-string bass. I didn't even know how many strings it was supposed to have, but I got that from a music go-round down in Toledo, and got a Fender Rumble 40 bass amp and started learning off of that. And then it was probably a year later, I picked up my first pedal, the bass Big Muff, and later on the Aryan bass chorus. And then my current girlfriend, she got me into listening to podcasts. I never really listened to them before. So I started listening to some like an NPR podcasts and whatnot. But then I decided, hey, maybe there's a guitar podcast out there. So I just searched guitar podcasts on Google, and I think Guitar Knobs was one of the first results on there.
Hallelujah.
And I clicked on that, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know how much work went into pedals, into gear, into all that. And then here I am 4 to 5 years later, and I have about like 30 pedals, and I have a small business going on.
That's fantastic.
So thanks for starting my addiction.
That's awesome. Yay. That's really cool. Glad that, we're very glad that you found us, but even more glad that you've, been able to kick off this passion of yours for collecting and building, of course. Along the way, like, what was the thing that made you say, hey, I should maybe start building?
Mainly, I think this was pretty common. It was the issue of money. because gear is expensive, and I didn't have a lot of money working at a Mexican restaurant as a prep cook and dishwasher. So I decided, hey, the stuff looks pretty cool. I looked up the DIY stuff after listening to a few episodes of people talking about it a bit, and I was like, oh, this seems pretty simple, fairly easy to do. Mm-hmm. So I got myself a breadboard, got myself a few components off of Amazon, and I started plugging in, chugging, and after that, I mean, it's history.
Nice. Well done. As to the I guess, the enthusiasm, the enthusiast part, tell us about, so before you start building, you're a listener of the show, but obviously you're plugged in other ways. What is it about the guitar community that keeps you so involved? Because you are one of the more involved people, and that's what we mentioned. We aren't just talking to you or the other Poohbahs because you're at a certain level or something. You are really involved in the guitar community at an enthusiast level, not as somebody who's got deep connections or has got a giant company or anything like that. What is it about this that keeps you going within it?
So I found the guitar community is different from any other community kind of aspect I've ever experienced. It's very very collaborative and very welcoming, and everyone's just happy to see that, hey, this guy is into guitar and into the same stuff as I am. Let's chat about it. Let's maybe think of some cool new things to do if we're builders and whatnot. And it's just really cool how everyone is just so friendly and so open to giving advice to new people. And I've never experienced any bad will within the community. It's very positive overall.
That's cool. That's awesome. Tony, were you trying to say something?
I was just saying that's really cool. And I think that's kind of been my experience too. I mean, every once in a while you run into a sour grape or something like that, but by and large, between the customers that I deal with, the other musicians that I deal with, I mean, everybody is, they're interested in what you're doing. They're really cool about, sharing ideas and in some cases concepts and things like that. So yeah, I think probably all of us have had that same experience.
Right. Yeah. No one's trying to hide their designs or trying to get a leg up on the other guy.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, that was back in the 70s. They used to code everything in
Goop it.
I mean, I've got some things that I do in my shop that I will never tell anybody that, how I do that or whatever.
You told me.
I think it's smart to keep some things up your sleeve, but I agree with you. It's very welcoming, very collaborative.
Well, from a fan standpoint, from an enthusiast, not necessarily that's your living. You're building the stuff out there. I'm more referencing,
when you're doing it for a living, it's you do think about it a little bit differently if you have, if you don't have another job.
Secret sauce.
Yeah, you rely on that secret sauce because you also rely on income.
Yeah.
But when you're in a community where you're doing stuff on the side, absolutely, it's very welcoming, and I'm not afraid to call anybody and ask them, hey, how do you do this or that? As long as I don't feel like I'm.
Well, I think that
boundary.
Tony.
Yeah, I think that's what I was getting at too. And I mean, I've had companies call and say, hey, we like the material that you have. Can you give us a source? And it's not like I'm having it proprietarily made for me, so I'm happy to.
Is that why you keep getting all these crazy calls?
It might be.
So Tim, aside from, obviously you like pedals and you're building pedals, but if there is a conversation going on and it's about either guitars or pedals or amps or whatever, is there one of those things that particularly gets you like more involved or more juiced? Is anything that you're more excited about?
I'd say I really like it whenever people open up a pedal and look at the guts, and then I can see what's in there. And I know, like, one of the first things I saw was the inside of a Boss pedal, and I was like, damn, that's cool. Whenever anyone posts or talks about the internal workings of everything, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll have to look into that myself and maybe try to implement it into a few designs or whatnot.
Actually, what piques my interest is if somebody comes up with a cool guitar design that maybe is comparable or similar to something that I really like, but is slightly different enough that, they're not infringing on any trademarks or anything like that. But, as I page through, whatever magazine, Vintage Guitar or Guitar Player or whatever, if you look at the new products pages and you see some kind of cool stuff, and I'm sure it's that way, with different pedals and other equipment and things too. When you see something that is kind of familiar, but different enough, or maybe an updated version, the thing that immediately comes to mind is it happened today. I was the new Vintage Guitar magazine came out, and there's a company called Satellite Amps or Satellite Guitars, and they're building basically their version of Epiphone coronets. They acquired the design rights to remake the earliest versions of the coronets. Oh. And it's a really cool guitar. It's different than the ones that came out later in the 60s, but that I saw that
there really is something different about the earlier ones.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're symmetrical for one thing.
Forgive me. Are they, can you describe what they're shaped like? I'm having a hard time remembering what they look like.
So it's like, well, in this case, it's a symmetrical double cutaway. It's a single pickup. The original ones had the old New York style.
You're right. But I remember now. But
they're offering them both in the New York style as well as the dog ear P90, and it's got the butterfly shaped guard on it.
Yeah. And you know who makes those New York style pickups really well is our guy,
our friend Curtis Novak.
That's right. And that, let me bring this home. When I'm looking on the gram, and what really gets me and what really gets my attention are people like Curtis Novak, somebody who makes a pickup that no one else does and no one else makes. And there's a lot of guys out there that are doing this, that are making their own casings, their own style, something that I have not thought of or that I don't think I can do. I love looking at that stuff because there's, it's for me, it's like being forced to do things out of the box. Like, how am I going to keep up with the Joneses? Well, I just get on Instagram and I look at the other guys that are doing some really great designing.
Yeah. Now, I think Curtis is one of those guys, he's got his own molding equipment. I know that he's paid to have like things custom metal stamped and, just for relatively small runs of things. And he's one of those pickup builders that really focuses in on some of the more hard to find types of things.
Yeah, he's a special dude for sure, man.
Super nice guy too.
It's good stuff. Yeah,
I think one of the things that I get excited about, I love pedals. Maybe because they're more accessible, so I get pretty excited about all. I love them. Tony, to your point, whenever I see like a special guitar, like when we had Dago Villon, is like, oh my gosh, first time I saw that, I was like, I dang near dropped my phone. And there's so many. I'm pulling out one. That was just one that I thought of. But just the other day, I sent to Jared Dallas Seeger What a great name. Seeger Guitars, Seger. So he's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, well, okay, got to get this guy on the show. It's just instantly. And I'm like, I want to know more about this. That's the kind of thing. Maybe because it's harder. It's a little bit harder to do. Get those unique things. That's, when we had Chase Gullett, he was one of the first people I met in Ohio when I moved here in the guitar community. I walked into a guitar show. He was the very first vendor I saw, and his guitars blew me away. And
just talked to him yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, and he's still a great friend, and he still makes some of the most outstanding guitars I've seen out there. So that's the kind of thing that gets me going. So Tim, in this industry, you get to, you've been to shows and stuff and all that, and you're obviously involved beyond the digital realm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that brought you into building your own pedals and stuff. And so let's talk about that really quick. So Bardic Audio Devices, where does that name come from?
Well, I'm a big D&D fan, Dungeons and Dragons, and a bard in that game, or in like medieval kind of times, is kind of just a person who, kind of like a gigging musician, just like street corner hat or gig bag down on the ground playing for change and whatnot. So that's where the bard part came from.
Interesting.
And Audio Devices is kind of hoping that sometime in the future I can expand from pedals into other such electronic music stuff, such as like amps and whatnot.
That's cool.
Ooh.
Yeah. Get a boutique bass amp line going. There you go.
Yeah, not a lot of those out there.
No. Well, so Bardic, okay, that makes sense. And you just did you do BAD on purpose?
I did, like how the acronym sounded.
Uh-huh.
And I hope that at this point it's kind of ironic.
So you sent us the Goblin. I do remember that one because it was gold and it was like it was a scratchy looking paint. That was kind of a unique thing that I hadn't seen a lot of. That looked really cool. And I don't mean distressed. What is the technique that you did on that paint?
I got this special powder. It's like chameleon. So it, depending on like the viewing angle, it's either green or gold. Where I bought it, it's usually used for nail art, like fingernails.
Huh.
And what I did is I mixed that in with a little bit of polyacrylic clear coat, and I brushed that on with a little foam sponge onto a black enclosure.
Wow, check you out, man. That's some pretty big thinking there. It's cool. You get it out of the box, you're like, well, this doesn't look like other ones. And that's how you do it. There you go. Oh, you just gave away your secret sauce. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I like how you said nail art, too. Like, so that means you're familiar with that, and it's not like nail polish.
No, yeah. The reason I found out about it was through my girlfriend. She was wanting to maybe give me some inspiration on what to do, what to make them stand out a bit.
Uh-huh. That's cool.
So I'm like, okay, I'll learn the right things and whatnot. And she really helped me along with that one. Oh,
well, good for all of us for her doing that. Tell her thank you collectively from the guitar community. So you got a couple. You started out with a boost, and then you quickly expanded. I remember when you sent us a note about that, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. You made a pedal." And then you're like, "Boom! No, I got a whole bunch of them. Check them out."
Yeah,
that was kind of that doesn't happen all the time. You just went for it.
Yeah, I really fell in love with doing it, and I think in late December it'll be officially a year since I started this endeavor.
That's awesome, man! Fantastic.
Yeah, I really like it. It's been really fun. This COVID stuff is crazy, but the upside of it was I was able to basically spend my whole summer building and designing guitar effects pedals, and that was pretty fun.
Awesome.
Nice.
I appreciate that you're doing ones that aren't just bass.
Yeah, I didn't want to I wanted to give bass players an option, but I realized that most of the pedal community are guitar players, and I like to play a little guitar too, so I figure why not make something for everyone, right?
Absolutely. How many pedals do you have out right now?
The Advantage Dirty Boost has a few different variants, but we can just count that as one right now. So there's that, the Goblin, then there's
the Goblin Fuzz. That's a great fuzz, man.
Goblin. Thanks. I hope to make another run with those, except add a master volume.
Yeah, that'll help.
And then,
So-
yeah. Go ahead.
No, sorry about that. Go ahead and finish. I have a bad habit of just never coming in at the right time. And Todd, Todd laughs every single time. He lives for this moment.
Yeah, that is the proverbial intersection T-bone.
That is correct.
There's one every episode. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So Tim, please go on with you were going through the rest of your pedals.
Okay. Advantage Dirty Boost, Goblin, then the Thunderclap, bass preamp and distortion, and the Oathbreaker, distortion and octave.
Nice. The Oath. So you got some colorful names. That's very nice. And I'm sure many more to come. Jared, I think Jared has a question that he wants to ask you.
Well, just when you're doing pedals, first of all, what was the very first pedal that you wanted to build? Did you build the pedal that you wanted to build, or did you start constructing something a little easier just to get your feet wet? And then on top of that, now, what's your favorite pedal that you make that you use? What's your go-to?
Okay. Well, the first pedal I ever built was a weird variant on the Big Muff. It was not exactly using like the same kind of parts, but getting the same sound, but with different components. And I wanted to basically make my own version of the bass Big Muff I had, but make it smaller. So that was the first PCB I designed, first board I populated, first thing I put together in one box and called it an actual pedal. And I really like it, and I still use it to this day. And what was your second question? Sorry.
Yeah, I think you already answered it. That's the one you go to the most, personally, of your own creation.
Oh, probably the first one I go to would be the Thunderclap. That was the first ever pedal I produced under Bardic Audio Devices.
Oh, cool.
It was a 6-knob bass preamp in a kind of like a signal path that I've never really seen before, but I find it really useful.
Oh, okay.
It's like a clean boost with a 2-band bass treble active EQ, and then that's in parallel with a rat style distortion. And I found that like boosting the bass on the clean channel and having the high end grit of the rat, that I was able to get some nice punk and metal tones out of that. And that's probably the pedal of mine that I play with the most.
That's cool. And that works good on guitar too, yeah?
Yeah. It's as with most of my stuff, it's full frequency, doesn't cut out much of anything. And if it does, you can always have control over it.
You were talking about octave and stuff. I think if you or anybody else, here's my dumb pedal name that is also an awesome pedal name. If you did a octave fuzz based on a muff, right? You could call it a McMuffin because the octave kind of sometimes sounds like bagpipes.
That would
Tony, nothing really. Oh, geez, come on, that's good, McMuffin. Whatever. Anyways,
I'll tell you, I'll build one day and I'll send it out to you.
Thank you.
I'll buy you one from McDonald's.
Yeah. So
I'm loving it.
Tim, we really want to thank you for being on the show and for supporting us and for building pedals for all kinds of new things for other people to experience. Who knows, maybe there's somebody who's just joining for the first time who's like, hey, I didn't know there's all these episodes out here with all these builders, and you kick-started the cycle, and there's going to be another you in like a year or two going like, well, after hearing that, who knows, I build pedals too now. I like that.
Exactly. And just to get a little deeper with it, my experience with the Guitar Knobs podcast and bringing me into building effects pedals and getting into resistors, capacitors, and whatnot, that actually was the final kick or the main kick to get me going to school for what I'm majoring in, electrical engineering.
What?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
We changed this man's life.
That's awesome, man. Oh, golly, that makes me so happy. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing
I'm not
that.
regretting it so far.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Great.
It's also really interesting and really fun.
You should reach out to our guy Mikey too, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
he's a genius. Yeah.
I think he's going for his doctorate in it. I could be wrong, but
Probably.
I'll probably get my doctorate in it, but I'm going to get married first.
Doctor,
Bro.
I'm Dr. Mike,
After my married stuff. Man.
We love you, Mikey. And
Yes, we do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tim Nowak, one of our Guitar Knobs Grand Poohbahs and builder of Bardic Audio Devices. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us.
Yep.
Jared.
This is the part where I sing
Higher, Jared, higher.
I will. And I love singing this little ditty, and then I'm going to ask a question about stuff. So, without further ado, would you rather?
All right.
Would you rather? You have an old guitar. It's not a museum piece, and it's not usually valuable, but it sounds great, and you love it. The frets are a bit worn, and the original owner swapped the tuners and replaced the bridge pickup. Ugh. All good quality parts, and it's been like that for 40 years. But hey, that's what's in the case. You know, all the original parts. Wow. So
yes.
Wow.
You have all the original parts to this old guitar.
What kind of guitar is it?
It's an old guitar. It's not a museum piece. And it's not highly valuable. That's what kind of guitar it is.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
would you rather? So you have all the original parts in the case.
What do we call that? That's like a what's that? That's a closet
like
guitar, Tony. Is that what you call that one?
We call it what?
You know, it's the old one from like in the closet or under the bed, under Grandpa's bed or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, a closet classic.
Classic. There you go.
Yeah. So would you rather install the original parts, fix up the dings, and have a refret to restore it as close as you can to its glorious original state from the store? Or would you respect the guitar's journey and play the great guitar it is now? So, keep the aftermarket bridge pickup in and the tuners that probably work better than the original. That's up to you guys. What are you guys going to do? I don't know.
That's a great question. That question is from our friend John Jackson. John, thank you for sending in that
John.
awesome question for us. Tony Baloney, go ahead.
Yes. Well, Jared, you said something towards the end there that you say it's an awesome guitar as it is right now. Is that truly the case?
Probably. It sounds like it's very functional still.
It's functional. The frets are good.
That's key. That's key.
Great.
Yeah. I would say, even though having all the original parts, which if I do any kind of changes on a guitar or whatever, I always keep the original parts, whether I keep them in the case or a box marked for what guitar goes with, whatever. because I think there's a lot of people that like to have the original parts, even if they're broken. They still like to know that the original parts are there. But given the fact that if the frets are good, don't mess with them until they need fixed. If the pickup sounds good, leave it alone. If the tuning machines are working better than the originals, leave them alone. I mean, if they were replaced, as you say, 30 or 40 years ago, and they're still functioning, I mean, that's almost as good as the original stuff anyhow. So that's, I say if the guitar is working as it is, let it go. And if there's something that you don't like about it, then change it at that point.
Jared?
This is a great would you rather. There's social media groups that I'm in, and you get guys that show pictures of their dad's or their grandpa's guitar, and some of them are worth upwards over 20 grand just in the, condition it's in. And what I can't stand is everybody trying to tell the poor guy what to do with it. You'll have 200 comments saying, do this, do that, and do this and do that. I think it really depends who you are, and leave the fella alone. If you ask for advice, give him the advice. And if that fella were me in this situation, I believe I would, if the bridge pickup didn't work anymore and I wasn't a pickup guy, I would just leave the guitar alone. I guess. What am I saying? Of course I would send it to myself and have myself repair it and pay for a charge.
Or someone like you.
Yeah. But no, I would let it be. There's a reason the tuners were changed, because they, old tuners don't work after a while. They don't stay in tune or whatever. There's a reason that those things were done to that guitar, and that was just to keep it going. So as long as I had the original parts, I'd just probably leave it alone.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on one point there, because if, I am a product of the 1980s, and back then in the 70s and 80s, people would do a lot of stupid things to guitars, including changing out tuning machines when the old machines were fine, but everybody had to have Grover.
Now that
tuner.
I absolutely agree with you, Tony Baloney.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on that, but if
put a brass nut on it, or a set of DiMarzio pickups and all
that would bother me. And if those changes were done just to keep the guitar functioning, and they were reasonable changes, you can't expect somebody to get the exact factory replacement if the thing's 30 years old.
Well, in the 80s, you couldn't get exact factory replacements.
No. So, no, I think you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
Tim, how about yourself?
Well, yeah, as y'all said, it's definitely quite a predicament right there. But I almost had my mind made up until Tony mentioned the 80s and whatnot.
Yeah, let's not go back there.
assuming everything isn't ridiculous, but still functioning guitar, I would respect the guitar's journey and take it as is, as long as it's functional. And I mean, chances are with those aftermarket parts, probably looks pretty punk rock.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. I think we're kind of unanimous on this one. I love the idea of thinking about, who's played it, what's the, has this, where in the country is this seen, an audience, what's been, spilled on it, what tunes are written on it, that kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of magic. That's one of the joys of going to a guitar show, is that you get to see all these great guitars and been in so many different people's hands, and maybe even passed down through generations or as gifts and stuff. I mean, I wish that more guitars came with more stories. Like there was a log on what that guitar had seen and done and everything. That'd be really cool. People need to start doing that, so they can leave them in the little flip up box in the guitar case, so somebody can go like, "Whoa, check this out." That'd be really cool to have some actual provenance attached to things. So
Yeah.
and I agree with the whole, the idea that when things get changed up, I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, I think we all personally change them up. We want to make them ours. So respecting that is I think that's definitely what I would do. So what would you out there do? You listening right now, what would you be doing? That's a question. It's a question of all the eternity.
Let us know.
When you find a guitar like that and it's in that condition, I think also it gives you a choice. Can I continue to customize this the way I want it to, or do I put it back?
Sacred.
It's a crossroads. It's great.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, we need to thank a few people. Tony,
Yes.
hit it.
Would you like me to thank a few people?
Sure.
All right. Well, at this point in the show, much has been said today about executive producers and Grand Poohbahs, if I remember correctly from earlier. But at this point of the show, we like to thank a special group of people, our executive producers. Do it! Now, you might be asking...
Do it, Tony!
Yikes, that was scary. I don't want to do it
We're
now.
all going to laugh at you.
You might be asking, what's an executive producer and how can I become one? Well, go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs, and you can find a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Each level comes with its own bevy of thank you gifts, including things like barefoot buttons and stickers and t-shirts and, oh my goodness, all the good stuff. All the good stuff is there.
Yeah.
In addition, it helps qualify for some fantastic giveaways we have coming up for our 200th, that's 200 episode.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
The top position is the executive producer level.
That's right.
And in addition to all that great stuff, you get one more thing. And what is that, Jared?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So a special thanks to Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Carney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lanthrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Liam Martin, James Pennington, Richard Kendall, Ty Harmon, John Williams, Michael DeLucio, John Jackson, Jason Roush, and our newest executive producer,
Hey-o.
Mr. David Rando.
Right
on. David.
He's back in my old digs over in Huntington Beach, California.
Oh, Huntington Beach, CA. Very nice. But wait, there's another level.
There is.
Because we talked about it earlier. It's our Grand Poohbah level. Mm-hmm. Our guest today is a Grand Poohbah.
That's right.
Indeed.
So this is a very, very special thing, and we send a thank you fez that they are. Are you wearing your fez right now, Tim?
I hope so.
I am over my headset. I got it taped on.
Nice. Send a picture. I don't believe you.
That's right.
You get a special fez to wear as one of in the Grand Poohbah clan here. So, want a special thanks to Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S.
Yes.
Tommy Manasco, Mark Garton, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys. Is there someone I'm forgetting?
Nope, I think that's everybody.
I think that's it. Oh, no, of course not. Mr. Tim Nowak, thank you, sir.
Right on.
Here.
Thank
My
you
pleasure.
so very much. Tim, please tell us where people can get your awesome pedals.
You can go to bardicaudiodevices.com, or if you have any questions, you can go to Instagram at Bardic Audio Devices. And friends of the podcast, I'd like to extend a little offer.
Yahoo!
Nice. Tell
Do it.
more.
In the discount section on the website, if you input Guitar Knobs 20, you'll get 20% off your entire purchase.
Holy
It's all
moly.
lowercase,
20%.
all one word, 20% off.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim. That's awesome.
Thanks, Tim.
Wow.
Very, very cool. So make sure that you go and get some of that stuff because it's good stuff, doggone it. And
That's
and it's made by a real person who just told you that he just makes all that stuff. So
He's here on the podcast.
yeah, and then you can directly ask him questions about it and all that good stuff. So thank you. That's very kind of you, very generous, and we really appreciate that for our listeners. Tony Bologna.
Yeah. Why don't you head over to pickguardian.com if you need some information.
That's
You
right.
can see all the stuff that I do. There's some stuff that you can buy right from there, but most of what I do is custom work. So just shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, what kind of material, what kind of pickups. I'll be happy to take care of you and make you something you're going to love.
Fantastic. Jared, how about yourself?
Well, if you're in the need of some new pickups that look like old pickups that go in your old guitar
Or your new guitar.
that looks old, Brandon Wound Pickups.
Brandon Wound
Also,
Pickups.
check us out on the Rewind Time with Brandon Wound Pickups. I'm always doing some sort of old cool pickup, and it's not a very long show, so it won't take up much of your time. So enjoy that as well.
Good stuff.
It is good, and it's interesting because you're like, oh, what? I didn't know that a thing like that actually existed. And very cool, very cool. You can shoot me an email. Let's be correct here. An email, Todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can also DM me, and not only just me, but I will pass on the message on Instagram @guitarknobs. We'd love to hear from you. We would love to get Jared some new would you rathers to say, and just generally just see how you're doing and how you like the show. Or if you don't like the show, tell us what you don't like about it. We'll listen. Tim, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we really appreciate you as a supporter, as an enthusiast out there, and as a pedal builder. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. All right, everybody, have a great week and subscribe.
Yeah.
It makes a good snack, especially cold spaghetti. Oh.
You big dummies.
Do we have to do a thingy?
Anyhow.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Tony Baloney!
Yeah, we need to do a thingy.
I'm drinking anyhow.
Oh, all right. We already did that joke, dum-dum.
Love it.
Coming
I
in.
hate you, Todd.
I know you do.
I'll do a thingy.
There you go. That's my boy. Y'all, you live in Michigan. You're supposed to have a northern accent up there.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, let's do it.
I gotta grab a beer, but go ahead.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.